And yes, just by downloading one app, you can double your FPS, and it doesn't matter if you have an AMD GPU or an Nvidia one. You just need to open up Steam, search lossless scaling, download it, install it, and then hit scale, and then you will see your game's FPS doubling. First, let me show you some examples, then I will tell you what's going on. I'm at the opening section of Last of Us. It's very early in the game, and this is not that demanding, yet it is not that bad. And I am averaging somewhere between 50 to 60 depending on where I'm looking, what I am doing, and all that. Now, it's a good experience, decent experience. I can play the game pretty fine, but hey, having much more FPS won't hurt, right? So let me hit the lossless scaling scale button for once. And now you can see I am getting around 118, 126 FPS. And to be honest, it looks much smoother, like really smooth. Like, yes, my mouse feels a little heavy because of the input lag latency, but for a game like this, which is mainly story focused and very less HUD elements, it really looks good. Now, Last of Us Part 1 was a third-person game, but Indiana Jones is a first-person game. And here I have capped the FPS by 30 FPS, so it won't go over 30 FPS. And as you can see, it doesn't really looks good. Like, it is, you can play through it, but you really won't enjoy it. So let's see what lossless scaling does to this. Now, here, as you can see, the gameplay has become much smoother. Where it was previously very jagged and choppy, now it looks so smooth because we are essentially getting 60 FPS. Because this game is a first-person game, there are going to be some artifacts due to frame generation. You can see the pointer, the cursor, there are some artifacts here, but while you're playing a game, it won't be that much noticeable that you won't be able to play. But now let's see what will happen if we increase it by 3 times. Now I have increased it by 3 times. I am getting 90 FPS essentially, but due to having a base FPS of 30, there are going to be a lot more artifacts, and around the edges there is a little wobbly effect. Like you can see here that the boxes looks a little wobbly, the HUD elements get a little blurry, like there is some kind of shimmering going on. Now here I'm comparing Cyberpunk's inbuilt benchmark with lossless scaling and without lossless scaling, and although in the benchmark a lot of motion doesn't happens, but still it's a good comparison to compare how fluid it becomes with just a click of a button. Now that you have seen what this could do, let me walk you through the UI when you open this app for the first time. You will see 3 sections. First, scaling mode, second, scaling type, and lastly, frame generation, which is the most important and the most impressive part of this app. Scaling mode and scaling type are used for upscaling your game if your game doesn't have any inbuilt upscaler. Using scaling type, you can choose what upscaling algorithm you want to use, and they do have quite a few options that you can choose from, and by using scaling mode you can adjust the scaling factor, like which base resolution you want your game to upscale from. But I won't suggest you to use their upscaler. Use the inbuilt one upscaler that you have in your game. Most modern games ship with one, and especially if you are playing games in 1080p, I will highly suggest you not to use any type of upscaling at all. But that's a topic for another video. Now let's come to the point of interest of this video. Use the latest version of LSFG that is available when you're watching this video. For me, the latest version is 3.0. Next is mode, where you will choose how many artificial frames to generate in between your real frames. It goes 2x to 4x. Also, there is a custom mode available which will let you go as far as 20, but don't do that, and I will show you why. The latest version of this app added a new adaptive mode. I still haven't updated my app. I don't know why, but I will, and I will link down some video about that particular mode in the description, so go and check those out. Also, I will suggest you use 2x mode most of the time because that will give you the best balance of performance, latency, and artifacts. And if you scroll down a little, you will find a section called rendering, and there will be an option called sync mode, and I will suggest you leave it at default, because if you turn it off, it can introduce steering. It almost like VSync. And if you want to know what VSync is, check this video right here or here. Now that you know what it can do, how to do it, let's talk about how it is doing it. I've used the term frame generation quite a few times in the video. So what is frame generation? It is a mechanism or algorithm that may or may not use AI to generate artificial frames in between real frames or the frames that are generated by the game's engine. By analyzing the previous frames and the current frame, it predicts what or how a frame in between can look and generate one. And if you want to learn more about frame generation in detail, check this video right here or here, wherever it's popping up. Both AMD and Nvidia do have these type of frame generation available to integrate in games for game developer. And for those who doesn't integrate inside those games, both of the companies offers a driver level frame generation. So why would you spend $6 on a separate app? Well, it just better. It supports almost all tier of GPU. Doesn't matter it's a high end or a low end, or an old one or a new one. Game developers have to integrate frame generation inside a game, which means more work. And frame generation is not an essential graphics feature. So a lot of the time, a lot of games doesn't really have the best implementation of frame generation. And driver level execution of frame generation for AMD is not really that good. It doesn't really feel that smooth. And for Nvidia, that kind of feature is gatekept for a handful of GPUs. Now I know some of you keen-eyed individuals have noticed that it is not always doubling the frames, and at the same time, every time you enable it, the base frame rate gets lower than without enabling it. Because although it is fake and uses AI, it still requires some resources to generate those frames. Now, as I promised, I will show you what happens when you enable 20 times frame generation. And if you like this video, hit the like button. And hey, look, YouTube wants you to watch this video, so check it out and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.